What's going on, everybody? Nick from the Sound Coop, and today I'm going to do the thing that I said I wasn't going to do. I got this Murphy Lab Junior a couple months back. I already did a first impressions video. I'll put a link to that video down in the description. But during that video, I said that I wasn't going to change this pickup out. One of the first things that I noticed was I love the tone of this pickup, and I really love the output of it. I actually thought the output of this thing was hotter than all my other P90 guitars. I recently plugged that in and realized the output of this is actually very similar to all my other P90s. It's not an especially hot P90. And so one of the first things that I realized is I can actually get very similar tones from some of my other guitars. Another thing I've realized about this guitar is this is a great guitar for facilitating songwriting. I've written a half dozen songs on this guitar since I got it. I kind of decided I was going to record a couple of those songs a few days ago. I brought this thing into the studio, plugged it in to track out some parts, and this is what I ended up with. A lot of noise. Yeah. Really noisy. It was less of a problem out in my writing space, but this studio room I have here is very small. It's basically like a Faraday cage without all the cancellation. There's wiring everywhere. I really like having a bright lit up studio. I like having colors to just create aesthetics in here. So I have lights everywhere. I have LEDs everywhere. I'm sure this is totally contributing to my noise problem. But I also have noiseless pickups in the majority of my guitars, and those guitars for the most part are dead quiet. So plugging this one in and realizing that it wasn't as usable as I was hoping in my setup, I thought I might take some time and swap out this pickup and see if we can get something better. So the pickup in question is going to be a Mojotone 56 dog ear. One of the cool things about Mojotone is they have their own proprietary version of a noiseless pickup. So for those people that don't know, normally with a noiseless pickup, what they'll do is they'll build a dummy coil underneath the actual coil that sits on the top part of the pickup. And the purpose of the dummy coil is strictly to cancel the noise. It's not actually grabbing any sound. Some people imply that that dummy coil actually makes the pickup not sound how it should normally sound if it wasn't a dummy coil, if it wasn't noiseless. I don't really know if that's true or not. It hasn't really been my experience, but everyone's different. The bottom line is a lot of people imply Mojotone has the vibe right with their proprietary way of wiring it noiseless. And I'm not entirely sure how this works, but the basic gist that I got was they wire two separate pickups in here. The first upper three pole pieces is one pickup, and the bottom three pole pieces is a separate pickup. And so they can reverse the polarity or reverse the winds of copper between those two pickups, and that will in and of itself create some noise canceling. Also, a lot of people imply because there's no dummy pickup in here, the 56 Mojotone is incredibly accurate compared to the original. So this is a 58 Murphy Lab. I don't know how different the 58 and 56 tone would be, but it seems like a lot of people love the 56 Junior tones. So we're gonna swap these two pickups out and we're gonna see where this leaves us. One of the main reasons why I picked this Mojotone pickup was I was concerned about the space that would be required to actually fit a dummy coil in here. I've never actually opened up a dog ear P90 before, so I'm not expecting there to be a whole lot of room in this cavity. It's kind of a surface mount operation. I was concerned that if I ordered like a stacked noiseless P90, there wouldn't be enough room in this cavity to accommodate it, and I'm not gonna route this guitar. That's definitely not happening. The big advantage of the Mojotone is it doesn't have that stacked coil, so it should be roughly the same height as a normal P90. No modifications should be required, at least that's my hope. I'll report back once we get this thing switched out. I'm just gonna play some sounds really quick, kind of show off the noise level. We have our volume pot all the way down, and right now the amp is giving us about minus 50 or minus 60 dB of noise. So if we turn up the pot all the way, we're now like closer to minus 30 noise. So it's a big difference. We're talking about 30, 35 dB of noise, just straight noise. So here's the signal. We're definitely running a high drive setup here, so no wonder we're having a lot of noise problems. I'm definitely curious to see how big of a difference it makes once we get a new pickup in here. But let me play out some parts real quick. We'll go through some tones, then I'll take this thing out to the workbench, we'll swap the pickup out, and then we'll come back in and I'll try to play the same parts and let's do a tone comparison and see how it sounds. We'll pay attention to not only the noise floor before and after, but we'll also pay attention to just the overall tone. How close were they? I got a 58 here. We got a 56 pickup going in. I'm definitely curious to see how big of a difference it is. Before we do that, shoot me a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot and I really appreciate it. Let's get into it. All right, here's some sounds. All right, let's swap these pickups out. All right, well, here we are on the workbench, and there's nothing I love more than when a good plan comes together. Here's those two pickups side by side. The one in my hand here is the Mojotone. They're pretty much the same width, so I think we kind of lucked out in that regard. I think it's going to fit this route perfectly, and just as I thought, there's just no extra room in this route. If I had to put a dummy coil P90 in here, I'd probably have to take all of that wood in there out, and I'm just not going to do it. So anyway, let's see how this goes. All right, it's been a couple hours, and I'm back. I got the pickup changed out without any problems. It was a super smooth installation, just unsoldered the old one, popped this new one in. I think my concerns about lack of clearance in this cavity that's cut out here was very well founded. I don't think I would have been able to fit a stacked Noiseless P90 in here. This Mojotone was basically the exact same size. I think the one sentence way to sum this up is I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but I got what I needed. So let me kind of explain. When I ordered this pickup, I was looking for something noiseless, and I don't think this is exactly a noiseless pickup, and I don't think that's Mojotone's fault. I think that's my fault. If you look at the box, they don't call it a noiseless pickup. They call it a Quietcoil, right? So I just kind of assumed it was noiseless. I think that's what they were going for. I don't think this is exactly what you would call noiseless, but we had a massive reduction in noise overall. So let's just go over what I'm working with here. So if I turn the volume knob up, that's where I'm at noise-wise now. I think last time we decided that our amp volume was somewhere between -50 and -60. That's basically where we're still at here. And when I turn this volume pot up, we're somewhere around -40. So with the previous pickup, it was somewhere around -25, -30. So we basically have about a 10 or 15 dB reduction in noise, which might not sound a lot, but it's actually pretty considerable. 6 dB is basically double. So if you turn something up by 6 dB, it's now twice as loud as it was before. So something like 10, 12, or 15 dB is a pretty significant reduction. It's definitely not as much as I'm getting out of my other noiseless P90s. So let's just check that real quick. Again, there's the current noise level. Let's unplug this. And we'll plug in my Novo real quick with the neck pickup. I don't have a P90 bridge pickup in this, but so you can hear there's a little bit of noise there, but this to me sounds like it's a little bit quieter. The other one was at -40. This one's at -50. So this noiseless is about 10 dB quieter than the Mojotone that I put in. This is a Lindy Fralin noiseless P90. So, all right, so back to this thing. Here's what I really like. I think when you're recording high gain parts, noise is probably less important than if you're recording clean parts. And I think that this much of a reduction in noise puts me in that kind of a sweet spot where I've reduced enough noise that it's completely out of my way, but I haven't reduced all the noise, so I haven't lost all of the kind of old school raw character that I think you hear from this kind of a guitar and this kind of a pickup. So I think it's kind of a happy medium. It's not perfectly quiet, but it's quiet enough that I got a significant reduction. I'm not going to have any more problems when I'm trying to track stuff in here. And it's also not completely taking away the vibe that you'll kind of hear as a result of having a little bit of hum in your signal when you're doing high gain stuff. I think the best thing about this is there wasn't a massive change in output or tone. I did a bunch of comparisons, kind of A being the previous performances, and then I built new performances basically playing the same part. I'll show all that off in a minute. But what I noticed is when you're transitioning from the old pickup to this new pickup, there's definitely not a change in volume or level, and whatever minor change there might be in terms of tone is something that I wasn't really noticing. My first feeling was like this thing had maybe a little bit more beef to it, a little bit more low end, and it might in fact just have a little bit of a thicker tone compared to the other one, but again, pretty minor. So it's really nice that I feel like I didn't lose anything going from one pickup to the other. I just got something that's a little bit quieter, a little more manageable. So hats off to Mojotone. They got me a pickup in here that didn't require any routing. It fit the current route perfectly. It was easy to install and it sounds great. I've lost nothing here by doing this change. So I think I'll just play a couple of tones real quick, let you guys hear it, and then I'm gonna do like a post show off going through the noise levels of this guitar now and with the previous pickup, and then also comparing it to the Novo. And then I'm going to do some A/B of the previous performances, basically showing the original performance with the old pickup and then showing me playing the same thing with this new pickup so you guys can kind of hear how it sounds. But yeah, it sounds just like it should. I'm really liking this thing. And if you're liking the video, shoot me a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, guys. It still has all those aggressive tones and that spank. Plenty of clarity, plenty of aggression. Still plenty of low end and thickness to the sound. Yeah, still sounds great. Yeah, I love that. I feel like I haven't really lost much. It's a great pickup. I really like this 56 from Mojotone. They did a really nice job. And like I said, I'm just not noticing a massive difference between what I have here and what I had in here before. So I'll tell you what, let's just move this thing forward a couple of days to when I go into editing mode. And let's just do some straight up A/B comparisons. And then we'll just call this video a wrap. All right, it's been a couple days. I've gone through all the video editing. That's all done. I just kind of wanted to show off the actual differences between the sounds in sort of a more professional way. So I want to do an A/B comparison here real quick. I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to listen to the noise from all three pickups. The first pickup's going to be the Gibson, the second one's going to be the Mojotone, and the third one is going to be a Lindy Fralin Noiseless P90 that I have in my Novo. So let's just compare those all really quick. This is the noise level coming from the Gibson pickup. That's pretty typical 60 cycle hum right there. Doesn't really sound all that good. Let's check out the Mojotone pickup in comparison. There's a lot less noise there. Let's just check those again one more time. Here's the Gibson. Here's the Mojotone. It's a pretty big difference. Pretty big difference. So here's the Mojotone again. Here's the Fralin Noiseless P90. There's hardly anything there. The Fralin is almost dead quiet. Again, the Mojotone. Gibson. That Gibson's really loud. The Fralin. And one more time, the Gibson, just to compare against the Fralin. It's a pretty big difference. I mean, I think the Mojotone has about 15 dB less noise than the Gibson. And I think the Fralin has about 10 dB less noise compared to the Mojotone. So big difference between all of these. The Mojotone definitely dropped considerably in terms of the noise. So now that we got that knocked out, I think let's go try a couple of sound demos. Okay, so what I did was I chopped out some of the guitar parts from the original performances that I was playing with the Gibson pickup. And then I listened to the performance, and then when the performance ended, I just picked up the performance with the Mojotone pickup. So basically, half of each of these is going to be, the first half's the Gibson, the second half is the Mojotone. And we're going to use this as a way to sort of compare whatever sound differences there might be. And I think we're also going to hear a little bit of that noise floor in the background. So let's check out the first example, and I'll just use like a visual cue on the screen here to let you know when we're moving from the Gibson to the Mojotone. But it'll basically be, like I said, first half of the performance is the Gibson, the second half of the performance is the Mojotone. So let's check this out. They do sound a little different. To me, I feel like the Mojotone is a little less flubby. I feel like there's a little bit more mud in the Gibson, and we're talking pretty minor here. I definitely noticed that when that chord stops, that brrr, and then it goes to the brrr, when it does that, that little gap, you can really hear the noise of the pickup in that gap with the Gibson, whereas with the Mojotone, it's pretty considerably knocked down. So I would say the difference is pretty minor. If you're not a studio guy, you've probably never had this experience, but sometimes you'll lay down a part and then you'll get called a couple of days or weeks later to come in and fix like a couple of small things, or they'll bring you back in just to completely redo some certain sections. And one thing that's always difficult is if you don't have the same guitar and you try to overdub those parts, sometimes the parts will sound different. So calling the same guy with the same guitar is often very important. I can tell you, if I had to do recuts of a guitar part where 1 week I had the Gibson pickup in there and then a week later I had to come back and swap out some parts using the Mojotone pickup, there's not enough of a difference here that I think anyone would be able to tell. So there's a difference, but it's pretty minor. I don't think you would really hear it in an overdub situation. So hats off again to Mojotone. Let's check out a couple other examples. So this one, it kind of has a little bit of a riff. So there's little spots where the guitar is not playing. When it switches from one guitar to the other, try and listen to all that noise that's taking up the spots where there's a space. So again, first half of the performance Gibson, second half of the performance Mojotone. Yeah, to me, the other pickup just has a little bit more clarity. It's not like it has more top or less lows. I just feel like it has maybe like a tiny, tiny little scoop somewhere in like the low mids. It just makes the pickup a little bit more clear, but pretty minor differences. I was just tripped out that when it switches from one pickup to the other, the noise floor instantly drops. So great. This is doing exactly what I'd hoped it would. So let's check out another audio example. Yeah, like right there with the constant part playing, I'm not hearing a big difference in the noise floor, but it's really weird. I just can't hear a massive difference between those two parts. Like I said, if I had to overdub a week later with the new pickup, I don't think the producers would be complaining. This is like a pretty small difference. Let's check out a couple more parts here. We're almost done. Yeah. There's definitely just a little bit more clarity there. I like it. Yeah, all in all, pretty minor differences. I don't know, I'm pretty impressed with this Mojotone. These guys get an A+ from me. It's not exactly noiseless, but it's definitely a heck of a lot quieter. So anyway, let's jump back to the video. Really quick, I almost forgot one important thing. I actually chopped out a section of noise from each one of these pickups, and then I used clip gain to turn it up 60 dB. And I don't want to listen to this because it would be terribly noisy. All I want to do is I just want to show you guys a picture of what the three waveforms look like, just so we have some sort of a visual reference as to how big of a difference we're looking at here. So again, all these clips are turned up 36 dB so we can actually see what the noise looks like in a waveform. As you guys will see, the top one here is the Gibson. That's a pretty big waveform, pretty massive waveform. If you go down to the next track down, that's the Mojotone. Very tiny waveform. There's not a whole lot of noise happening there. If you go down to the third track down, that's the Fralin P90. Also, not a lot of noise happening there. You also might notice that the noise from the Fralin looks kind of erratic and spiky, where the Mojotone looks very flat and consistent. I think the spiky nature of the Fralin is why that thing is a little bit less noisy compared to the Mojotone. I just think that the noise that's coming from the Fralin is very small band noise, where something like the Gibson pickup has 60 cycle hum. That's basically noise at 60 hertz, and then all of the intervals, the harmonic intervals up our hearing range, you're going to hear noise at all those intervals. And it seems to me like the Mojotone isn't quite 60 cycle hum, or maybe it's a massively reduced 60 cycle hum. But at the end of the day, it's a little bit louder than the Fralin and significantly quieter than the Gibson pickup. So Mojotone for the win. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, shoot me a comment below. And if you're one of those guys that hates noiseless pickups and you guys think I'm crazy for even worrying about this kind of a situation, I'm sure you guys are going to let me know, and I'll see you guys in the comments too. So regardless, I'll be back again soon with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks, guys. Bye.